Names that kill cars. No, not a name with a bloodlust, a name that can't stop being applied to cars that keep getting discontinued. Let's say Car A has the name Speedster. Car A then gets discontinued, and the Speedster name gets applied to Car B. Car B is then discontinued, and the name moves on to Car C, and the cycle repeats. However, the name of a car isn't what kills it, but it can be a reason for the car's discontinuation. Why am I telling you this? Because in today's video, we're going to look at names that kill cars. Now that you know what a killer name is, I need to explain what one needs to do in order to be called a killer name. Rule number 1. The name has to have a kill streak of at least 3 cars that were all sold at different times. Rule number 2. If the car changes to a different kind of car for the next generation, and there is no gap in the model year, then it still counts as a singular car or lifespan. Rule number 3. No different brand, same name rebadges. I'll give you 5 seconds to correctly identify which brand these 3 cars belong to. I bet you couldn't tell. Now that the regulations have been covered, I've found 10 good examples of names that kill cars, and they will be featured from least to most kills. I'll give you a quick sneak peek. The number 1 name has a kill streak of 5. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get to the names. My first example is Chrysler's 300 name, which has been used on 3 different cars. How ironic. The first car the 300 name was used on was the sporty, full-size Chrysler 300 letter series, which ran from 1955 to 1970. Then, in 1998, Chrysler revived the name as the 300M, which lasted until 2003. The final and most recent use of the 300 name came in 2005 with the Chrysler 300, this time without any letter attached. This version stayed in production until 2023, when Chrysler discontinued the LX platform and all the cars built on it. Throughout its life, the 300 was always a full-size sedan, but the original letter series models were much sportier, basically muscle cars, but just bigger. Next is Mercury's Marauder name, which was used on 3 different cars. The first Marauder appeared in 1963 and ran until 1965, with it being a sportier version of Mercury's other models. Mercury brought back the name in 1969 during the height of the performance wars, but that version only lasted 2 years. After that, the name disappeared for 33 years, but when it finally returned, it came back as a high-performance version of the Grand Marquis. Just like the 1969 version, this third-generation Marauder only lasted 2 years before getting discontinued. Despite the long gaps, the Marauder remained a consistent in purpose as a full-size performance sedan, sharing a similar philosophy to the Chrysler 300. This next name is the first to be used across multiple brands in this video. The name is Omega, used by Chevy, Oldsmobile, and Opel on 3 different cars, one for each brand. The first use was in 1973 on the Oldsmobile Omega, a compact car that stayed in production until 1984. 2 years later, Opel introduced its Omega, a very popular E-segment car that ran from 1986 to 2003. It even found its way to America as a Cadillac. A Cadillac! It wasn't very good. Then in 1992, Chevrolet introduced its own Omega in Brazil to replace the Opala. While the first-generation Chevy Omega was a rebadged Opel Omega, later versions, or generations, were not, so it still counts. The Chevy Omega was discontinued in 2008, but then brought back in 2010 only to be discontinued the following year. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's GM we're talking about. Across these versions, the Omega name covered a wide range of cars, from semi-luxury compacts to more budget-oriented full-size cars. This next name is one of the more unique ones. It's the Hornet name used by Hudson, AMC, and Dodge on 3 different cars. The first Hornet appeared in 1951 as the legendary Hudson Hornet, famous for its success in stock car racing. That version was discontinued in 1957 along with the whole Hudson brand. 13 years later, AMC, formed by the merger of Hudson and Nash, brought the Hornet name back as a compact car to compete with imports and cars like the Ford Maverick. That version lasted until 1977, after which the name disappeared for decades. Following the creation of Stellantis, Dodge revived the Hornet name in 2022 as a compact crossover. This is just insulting, and I don't say that about the AMC Hornet, because at least it had some sporty variants like the AMX. Thankfully, the Dodge Hornet was discontinued in 2026. Across all its uses, the Hornet name has been applied to very different kinds of vehicles. Like the previous name, this one is also unique, not because of the name itself, but because of all the different brands that have used it. The name is Sierra, which has been used by Ford, GMC, and Tata. The first use of the Sierra name was by Ford in 1982 on a European D-segment car. This model was a success for Ford, not just on the road, but also on the track with the Sierra RS 500 Cosworth. It even made its way to America as the Merkur XR4 Ti. However, the Sierra was discontinued in 1993. The second use of the Sierra name came in 1991 with the Tata Sierra, an Indian mid-size SUV. Tata sold this vehicle until 2001 when it was discontinued. However, Tata brought back the Sierra in 2025 and it is still on sale today. The next and final use of the Sierra name was on the 1999 GMC Sierra. Although GMC had already been using the Sierra name as its top trim level on its CK trucks from 1972 to 2002. This GMC Sierra is a pickup truck, so of course it's still being sold today. Overall, the Sierra name has never been tied to just one type of vehicle. From sedan to SUV to pickup truck, the Sierra name has had quite a journey. The next name is Avenger, used by Dodge, Jeep, and Hillman across 4 different cars. The first Avenger was the 1970 Hillman Avenger, a compact car that lasted until 1981, with around 800,000 units sold. Then, in 1994, Dodge used the Avenger name on a compact coupe, which didn't sell well and was discontinued in 2000. In 2008, Dodge revived the name again for a mid-size sedan, which performed better due to it being part of a more popular segment, but it was still discontinued after 2014. The most recent Avenger is a European subcompact crossover SUV from Jeep. And honestly, it barely feels like a Jeep, but it's been a huge success so far and it's still in production. Like many other names on this list, Avenger has been used on a wide variety of vehicles and can't seem to make up its mind. This next name is the only one to be used across 4 completely different brands. Concorde, used by Plymouth, Chrysler, AMC, and Kia. The first use was on the 1941 Plymouth Concorde, which unfortunately only lasted a year. Then, in 1977, AMC used the Concorde name on a more refined version of the Hornet, which lasted about 6 years. After that, Kia used the Concorde name on a South Korean mid-size sedan from 1987 to 1995. Finally, Chrysler brought the name back in 1992 for a full-size sedan that lasted until 2004. This car overlapped heavily with the Chrysler 300M from 1998 to 2003, as they were essentially the same car. The Concorde name is one of the more consistent names, only ever being used on cars. No SUVs or trucks here. And yes, even though Chrysler spelled Concorde with an E, it's still close enough to count. Now we move on to the first name used on 5 different cars. Ford's Maverick name. The Maverick name first appeared in 1970 on a compact car that lasted until 1977 in the US and 1979 in Brazil. In 1998, Ford reused the name in Australia on a rebadged Nissan Patrol, which lasted until 1994. Around that same time, Ford also used the Maverick name in Europe for a rebadged Nissan Toronto, which lasted until 1999. Then, in 2001, Ford of Europe and China applied the Maverick name to the Escape, where it remained until 2005. The most recent use came in 2021 when Ford introduced the Maverick as a compact pickup truck. This one seems like it might stick around, especially given its strong sales. The Maverick name has been applied to everything from a compact car to multiple SUVs and even a pickup truck, making it one of the most inconsistent names on this list. Something I noticed while making this video is that the top 3 most used names, as well as the only ones that were used on 5 cars, are from Ford Motor Company. Anyway, it's Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln's Zephyr name. In total, it was used on 5 different cars, 1 from Ford, 1 from Mercury, and 3 from Lincoln. The first Zephyr appeared in 1936 as the V12-powered Lincoln Zephyr, which lasted until World War II. Later on, Ford reused the Zephyr name for an E-segment car that had nothing in common with the original Lincoln. This Ford Zephyr ended up being the most successful use of the name, lasting until 1971, with over 600,000 units produced. Later in 1978, Mercury joined in with the Mercury Zephyr, a compact model based on the Ford Fairmont that helped fill the gap until 1983. While shorter-lived, it showed the name's flexibility beyond larger sedans. The name then went unused until the 2000s, when Lincoln brought it back again. The 2006 Lincoln Zephyr was essentially a rebadged Ford Fusion, but the name only lasted 1 year before being changed to Mark Z. Yes, it's pronounced Mark Z, not MKZ. The Mark Z lasted until 2020 or 2021 before being replaced by the Lincoln Z in 2022. Z stands for Zephyr. Could you tell? Despite the long history, Zephyr models have generally been mid-sized sedans. Finally, we have the last name, Capri, used by Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln across 5 different cars. Lincoln used the first Capri name from 1952 to 1959 on a full-size luxury sedan. Then, in Europe, Ford used the Capri name starting in the late 1960s on a sporty coupe that lasted until 1986 and sold very well. That same car was briefly sold in the US as Capri. That's it. Just Capri. Later, from 1979 to 1994, Mercury used the Capri name on a rebadged Ford Mustang, and then rebadged Ford Capri. Speaking of which, in 1989, Ford revived the Capri name yet again for a Mazda-based sports coupe sold in Australia, which lasted until 1994. Then, after a long break, Ford brought back the Capri name in 2024, but this time on a retro-styled compact electric crossover. Basically a European counterpart to the Mustang Mach-E. Ugh, man, when will Ford learn to stop using legendary names on electric crossovers? Overall, the Capri name was mostly used on sporty coupes, with a few major exceptions like the Lincoln and modern crossover. While making this video, I noticed something kind of interesting. Car companies love to recycle names, and honestly, it's a smart move. Why waste time on creating and trademarking a new name when you can just simply reuse an old one? Yes, it may create some problems among the community, but hey, it's cost-effective and it works. Also, there are a lot more names that I could have mentioned in this video, but didn't for a multitude of reasons. With all that said, I challenge you to find some names that killed cars and leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and goodbye. Happy Tax Day!